Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Mobility with Dr. Josh. I have a new setting behind me, give you all some nice scenery while we do some of these mobility exercises. Today we're going to be focusing on elbows and wrist. Elbows usually aren't something that people have a lot of mobility issues with, but if you think about a lot of people who have desk jobs and they have to keep their elbows bent, then sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to do lifts that require your elbows to be fully straightened out. Wrists definitely are something that a lot of people have mobility issues with, but if you fall into one or both of the categories, you'll find this to be a very helpful mobility drill. First thing that we'll do is just start with just loosening up the wrist. We're going to do about 10 wrist circles going in either direction. You can do this seated, standing, does not really matter. Just try to go in as much range of motion as you can. And go the other way now. Full circles, much as you can. There's a lot of jumping fish in the river, so I don't know how much of the river you can see, but there's a reasonable chance that you might get the Easter egg of seeing some jumping fish in the river. I don't know what they're called. I'm not really a fish guy, but cool sight nonetheless. All right, now we're gonna work on the elbows. For this, I'll probably be kneeling, and I forgot my yoga mat, so this doesn't feel very good. But go ahead, and what you're gonna do is bend your elbows, and you're gonna bring your thumbs out as far as you can. Okay, so bring them out away from your body, and then straighten your elbows out and bring your thumbs in and back like that. So we're gonna curl up, bring the thumbs out, straighten out, thumbs go behind. Let's do that 10 times. Really trying to go through as much range of motion as you can. And just keep your shoulders back. Always make sure you have good posture. Again, if this is a lot on your knees, and especially being on wooden planks, this isn't a position I'm gonna be in for a super long time, but you can also do this standing as well. Do a few more. All right, good. We're gonna work on the elbow and just work our way down. This should be a somewhat shorter routine just because the joints don't do quite as much as some of the other ones that we cover for the most part. So let's start with the elbow. And I think the best way to do that is to get onto all fours, and you're gonna put your arm, if we're starting with the left arm, we're gonna work on the ability to extend it or to straighten it out all the way. And you're gonna put it so that your fingers are facing out. You're gonna prop up onto your toes so that your elbow is, or that your knee's behind your elbow. And I'll change position here so that you can see from another angle. But what you're gonna do, I'll show you from here, is rock forward. And then as you rock forward, your knee pushing into the back of your arm is gonna help get it into full extension. So you're gonna lean forward, use your knee to push your arm into extension, come back, bend your elbow, rock forward, get your knee back there, and do 10 of these, all right? And then I'll switch sides here so you see what I'm doing. Go ahead and continue on at your own pace. Just like with a lot of the other areas that we work on, you can incorporate some breath work into this. So as you kind of lean into it, you can exhale, do a few more. And if this doesn't feel super terrific, you can also just put a towel underneath your elbow so that you aren't digging your knee into the back of your arm. And if you have some meat back there, it won't feel quite as bad, but I kind of got bony knees and elbows, so it doesn't feel the best, but it works. All right, same deal. Let's do it on the other side. Forearm on the ground, fingers facing out. So now the same leg is gonna get propped up onto your toes and lean forward and push your knee forward. and curl up. Do 10 of these. I gotta say, this is kind of a nice change of pace. It's pretty neat to be able to do workouts here. Can't believe I didn't think about this sooner. Only bad part is if I need a lot of equipment. But a lot of times with these videos, I try to keep them as equipment-less as possible. So hopefully that helps you all out. All right, one more. All right, we're gonna work on the wrists next. You're gonna get into a all fours position. Splay your fingers out, so don't let them crunch up on you. Splay them out, and you're just gonna rock forward until you feel that stretch. And you should feel that like in the front of your forearms. So let's do 10 of those, just kind of holding for a couple seconds for each one, and then come on back. Again, you can incorporate the breath work, so exhaling as you come forward. And if you're feeling a little, I don't know, saucy and want to advance this a little bit, you can get into a plank position and do the same thing. Just gets a little more weight bearing into those arms, and you can get quite a bit more leverage that way. Make sure your elbows or the crook of your elbow is pointing forward. Don't have it in. You want to crank your arm, corkscrew your arm down into the ground so that they're pointing forward. Let's just do a couple more of these. All right, you can go back onto your knees. We're gonna work on going forward now, so flexing the wrists. Just be cautious with, a lot of times the wrist can be sensitive when you bend them, especially more than they're accustomed to. All I'm gonna do is just rest the back of my fingers and the back of my wrist down and just kind of lean into it, not very far. I'm not putting a lot of weight into this at all, and then coming back. This is really just something to work on going the opposite direction that we just focused on previously. For most of the lifts that you do, I would argue extension is probably more important than what we're working on now, flexion, but still good to work on both just to be comprehensive. All right, a few more. I'll switch angles just so you can see me. I haven't quite found where I can, usually I have two angles set up, but I haven't quite figured out where I'm gonna put my phone yet. So this is a one angle routine, but hopefully you all can get a sense of what I'm doing. Okay, so that is good for that. Now we're gonna work on extension again, but instead of having your fingers pointed forward, you're gonna have them pointed behind you, or at least as far as you can. If they're angled out a little bit, that's all right. It's not a problem. Some people don't have the mobility to get their fingers back there. So I can get them almost all the way back, but not quite. So I feel pretty good here. This may or may not be obvious, but this is opposite to what we did before. So the more you lean forward, the less of a stretch you're gonna feel, but the more you hinge back, you're gonna really feel it, probably even more so than the other one that we did with the fingers forward, right through there. So let's do 10 of these, doing some breath work on the way back. So instead of going forward, do a nice exhale and try to sit your butt back. And then come forward. As with all the movements that we've been doing, you don't really have to hold for a super long time with this. The whole purpose of this is to get away from doing those long, static 30-second holds and things like that. Not to say that they're not effective, but so are these, and they take less time. And I'd rather spend less time doing this than more, especially if I can get the same benefit. We'll switch angles. You keep going at your own pace. We'll do a few more. All right. Just got a couple more movements here. This one will work on one arm at a time, and this will help to mimic the receiving position of a clean or front squat. Just take one arm, you're gonna take your other hand and pull down on your fingers, so you're pulling it towards the top of your shoulder, and then work on bringing your elbow towards the sky, high as you can. And I'll have you do 10 of those. Now with this, you do have a nerve that runs on the inside of your arm. And if you do feel some kind of sharper sensations, then definitely back out of those. It should just feel like a pull when you do this. And just make sure you're not hunched forward. Good posture is key with all of these. And one more. All right, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So again, palms facing away from you. Take your other hand, pull your fingers down towards your shoulders, and then bring your elbows up. Incorporating that breath. So exhale, coming up, and inhale on the way back down. Same deal if you get any like electricity type sensations in your arm. I know I used to get that a lot. You definitely want to back out of that. And you can still do the exercise, just don't push past that feeling. And then over time, that sensation will get better. Couple more. All right. Okay, so that takes care of the mobility portion of this. If you're, in a gym setting and not sitting on a dock, the ideal thing to do after this would be to do like a power clean or a front squat, something that would challenge your wrist mobility. I don't have that available to me, obviously. But if you don't have that available to you either, you can just work on doing active movements, getting into that receiving position. So what I'll do is I'll just do 10 of those right now. You can follow along with me if you like. So here we go. Just trying to get your fingers towards your shoulder and elbows high as you can, and doing 10 of these. No matter what you do, I would encourage you to do some form of active movement to challenge the mobility that we've gained. Otherwise, I'm not gonna say it was a waste of time, but kind of close to it though. Like I always say, these mobility routines open up a window of opportunity to do those exercises that are ordinarily challenging for you to do. So if you don't do the exercises that are challenging for you, then you won't get better at them. So you might as well take advantage of it. All right, a couple more. All right. Well, that'll do it for today's elbow and wrist mobility routine. I hope you found that to be enjoyable, and I hope you've liked the new scenery that I have, my new backdrop. And if you found this to be helpful, definitely give me a thumbs up. And if you loved it and you want to follow along and help with other work on your mobility for other areas, then definitely subscribe. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.